The NFL season was an interesting one this year. There was a drop in ratings, and people were wondering, why was that? Well, let's just go over what went down in the 2016 season. I don't think there was a reason for a drop in ratings, but let's just go over it either way. The NFL season started off with Carson Wentz and Jared Goff going 1-2 as the Rams and Eagles traded away a lot of draft picks just to get these two guys. Jared Goff would probably have been the one that thought, well, he's going to make immediate impact right away. Wentz, he's probably going to start behind Sam Bradford. That wasn't the case. It was the other way around, kind of. Wentz started right away after he straight up, they team straight up traded for Sam Bradford, and the next guy up, well, they decided, well, Wentz, let's throw you out there. Eagles did pretty fine for themselves, missed the playoffs because, teams figured out Carson Wentz. But Jared Goff had to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Speaking of new stars being made, Zeke Elliott and Dak Prescott. Now, Prescott, just like Carson Wentz, was not supposed to start right away. With an injury, Tony Romo, he was forced into the starting spot. And, well, after the Cowboys basically couldn't get Paxton Lynch in the draft, which was supposed to happen, but teams said, no. So when Cowboy fans say, we were the only ones who saw something in Dak Prescott, just tell them, you guys wanted other guys. Dak was the only guy left. Well, Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott carried the Cowboys the whole season. Well, mainly Zeke Elliott. But Tony Romo was stuck just watching as they basically brought in a new era. And as the Tony Romo era was over, Colin Kaepernick was in the news, even though he wasn't starting, kneeling during the national anthem. That sparked a lot of controversy. As a 49er fan, I had no problem with Colin Kaepernick doing what he believed. I think it would have made an even bigger impact if he was starting, but, he wouldn't start right away. Niners didn't have the best season, but, 2 wins were 2 great wins I loved watching. They gave me heart attacks all season long, even though they weren't winning many games. There was a decent 49er season. Not really. But Kaepernick was sparking controversy, eventually started, and basically did what he did and tried bringing some hope in 49er fans. Speaking of guys having to start, Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford wasn't supposed to start. Teddy Bridgewater goes down, and he's still projected to be out for a while. Teddy Bridgewater goes down. Vikings have to rely on Sam Bradford, trade a lot of picks away, which at this point are turning out it kind of was worth it. Bradford carries them to a nice undefeated record. The undefeated record goes away. The Vikings' playoff hopes go away. Well, the Vikings basically and the Eagles were basically the same thing. Start off hot and fall down. Basically tells you, although the NFL season is only 17 weeks with 16 games, a lot can happen in that time. We had the Browns who almost had a perfect season just to win one game. I guess you could say they blew a perfect season in the eyes of Browns fans who thought, hey, we can have a perfect season. We're not going to win a single game. Niner fans, be happy. Your team isn't the Browns. We had the Raiders finally, after many, many years, what was it, like 12 years of not making the playoffs, they finally do. The Raiders had a pretty decent offseason, which led to them basically going back to the playoffs, only for their hopes to be crushed just a couple weeks before the playoffs even started. More on that later. We had teams who had a pretty good offseason, like the Raiders, and it paid off, but we had teams who had a pretty good offseason, but it didn't pay off, like the Jaguars. And the Jaguars ended up firing Gus Bradley. We had the Chargers who, did things and ended up moving to LA. And as soon as the Derek Carr pictures pops up, let me talk about it. Derek Carr had an MVP-like season, only for us to be crushed on Christmas Eve, where he goes hurt and breaks his leg, shouting the quote that defined the Raiders season: "It's broke, it's broke, it's broke." I know I'm evil. In that same week, the Browns won their first game, and Niners won their second game of the season. A lot went down in that week. Well, that was a pretty decent way to spend Christmas if you were a fan of those teams. Huh. You either left saying, finally win again, or like, we've ruined a perfect season, but at least we got a win, or you said, well, our playoff hopes are done. Speaking of the Chargers are going to infamously known as the team who blew it and basically handed the Browns their first loss. And with that loss came a terrible logo, as they were officially moving to Los Angeles. Now, they ended up changing the logo, but that basically sums up how bad it was. And the Packers and Aaron Rodgers talking about who was going to run the table. Oh, did he run the table? He ended up, doing what he did, doing what Aaron Rodgers does, and proving everybody wrong. With Aaron Rodgers running the table, the playoffs were decent. They weren't the best. Not all games were good. There were only a couple good games, like Cowboys and Packers, Chiefs and Steelers was pretty decent. The Super Bowl was the Super Bowl. It was all right. But let's talk about the playoffs a little bit. We knew what we were going to get going into Texans and Raiders. We were going to get Brock Osweiler versus Connor Cook. That was terrible. All right, we knew that what was going to happen was going to happen. We had Dolphins and Steelers, Matt Moore. The AFC wildcard games were a bunch of backups and Ben Roethlisberger. And Ben Roethlisberger and his team were the only ones who actually looked dominant. Now, you could say the Texans looked dominant, but they were up against Connor Cook. In the next round, you had the Texans and the Patriots. And Patriots won, Steelers win, and we get the AFC title game, which is a blowout. Packers-Cowboys was great, with a last-minute field goal, crushing all hopes of Cowboys fans. Packers and Falcons, as Falcons destroyed the Seahawks. Next week, we had another blowout with the Falcons destroying the Packers. Then you had the Super Bowl, Patriots and Falcons, as you see Matt Ryan on the screen right now, disappointed, knowing that he blew it. And then, people are calling it the best playoff Super Bowl, the best comeback in history. I don't think so. Maybe one of the best, not the best. That Super Bowl was pretty lackluster. It wasn't as interesting as it should have been, and you had the Falcons blow it. Now, this NFL season, with the Patriots winning the Super Bowl, this NFL season can be described in a couple phrases. What did I just watch? What just happened? And how did it happen? For almost every week, in almost every game, you could ask that question. What did I just watch? What just happened? How did it happen? How did the Patriots win? How did they come back after being down 25? Why did the Falcons let them come back, and what did I just watch? Well, you just watched Brady win the Smith ring, which I hate. And as I ended the last video, I hate the Patriots. Well, it doesn't matter at this point. I've grown to say, whatever, it doesn't matter. But Joe is still the GOAT. This was an interesting NFL season. Can't wait for the next one.